Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, hog, dog. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, turkey. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, hog, dog. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken.
Oh! That was the closest thing we could get to a Thanksgiving song, guys.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. You will be
Yes.
probably watching this turkey morning right before the 11:30 game.
Probably. I mean, if you're prepping food, maybe you decided to give us a listen instead of watching Macy's Day Parade or whatever the hell it is.
Nobody watches that anymore.
Right? Yeah, we feel honored if you decided to turn on the YouTube and check us out instead. Even though it's a holiday, we're not skipping a beat. We're going here because this is a very important week.
Full throttle, man. Full throttle. We are balls to the wall. We are balls deep. We are here at the final regular season week.
We're here. And for the most part, I mean, it would be a little bit tough for someone to climb that high, but positions 2nd to 9 are pretty much all set to be jumbled around in any way, shape, or form. This is going to get crazy.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see the percentage likelihood of some of every team right now of them making the playoffs. If we,
I would love the breakdown.
Like you and Chet might have like an 80% or 90% chance of making the playoffs. Where, I don't know, Lijak, Danny, myself, Matt might have anywhere from like a 7 to like 25% chance. It would just be yeah. It would. It's crazy. A lot. I'm excited for this week, even though I am so nervous.
I mean, I know I'm in 3rd place right now, and it's absolutely nuts to think about because I've been crunching a little bit of numbers, and because why not? It's all I can think about right now. Yeah. I could move up to 2nd place in 1 week. I can move up to 2nd place and claim a bye week in the playoffs, or given the mathematical percentages here with the tight points for in the league and just the amount of the records that we have, I could drop out of the playoffs. It's nuts. I love it. So we'll jump into it and see what we think everybody's going to do this week. We have, at the very end of the episode, we are going to give you our full pounder prediction. Full pounder. Yeah. We're going to let you know after we have predicted all these games who we feel is going to be the 6 teams making the playoffs and the 4 teams that are going to be duking it out not to wear an animal costume here.
Yeah, you might love it. You might hate it. We'll see.
We'll see. Lou, you want to give us a nice little recap of Week 12 and see how we got in this scenario here?
Yes. So there was a lot of shaking, if you will, in the last one. Galladay in the number 1 seed, the person that didn't even need to start anybody, nor start anybody this week, took me down 130 points, all on the back of Mr. Lamar Jackson. What a great game that he put up. I scored a meager 83. Next up, we got Nuketown. They took out Bow Out for Burrow, 152 to 102. So a dominating win there, 50 points. Not too shabby. Team Woodsy. Beaten Hooper's Hampered, 91 to 70. Hoopers needed to heed our advice. They should have started Jonathan Williams. It would have at least made it somewhat closer. But, when we get it right, we get it right. So you can do what you will. Next up, Prescott Sterling, 129 over Too Many Cooks. Too Many Cooks, 103. And then Circuit of Browns slaughtering Silver Sterling, 136 points to 67, doubling their points.
I think we even both said it. With your Chiefs on a bye, you're going to have a hard time, and that it definitely showed this past week. But everybody's back. No more bye weeks.
Full teams
Full
ahead.
teams. Everybody in. All chips are in. I love it. This is how it's going to go. Well, let me give you a quick recap on the pick'ems. We've varied on 3 different matchups last week, trying to shake things up on the pick'ems instead of going same these. And now I am still ahead, and this time it's by 3 instead of 2 last week. This week we have ended. I've got 36 out of 60 games correct. You have 33 out of 60 games correct.
It's over half.
Yeah, that's the way to look at it. We're getting about half of these right. Maybe
That's
little
pretty
bit
good.
more.
I mean, you got to get like 3 a week to stay above average. So
This has been good.
we're on the right side of things. We're Hall of Famers right now, is what we are.
Right now, boom. We're on the World 2009. What is it? The Video Broadcasting Hall of Fame. That's right.
Could you imagine how much better we'd be if we signed up for Video Club?
This would have changed the game.
Dude, I'd already have like the software to do some sick editing.
Instead, we're going through Skype. We love you, Skype. Please don't.
Skype,
Videos.
we love you.
Well, without further ado, we're going to save the full pounder predictions for the end there to let you know.
So stay tuned. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss that.
That's right. We'll kick things up
Just
right
listen
away.
to the duration of our video.
Listen to the duration of the video. While you're at it, like and subscribe.
No skipping ahead.
No skipping ahead. Let's go back to the old ages where you don't skip ahead. Yeah, please.
There's no fast forwarding. You got to get out of your couch to do that. Okay.
So we'll jump into it with the first game. We're gonna bring up Too Many Cooks versus Hoopers Hampered. We've got the match of Aaron Rodgers versus Kyler Murray for quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers is 9th. Kyler Murray is 8th on the season. This is going to be a pretty decent matchup overall. Aaron Rodgers he's playing New York Giants. They are 23rd against the quarterback position. It's looking like a good matchup. He's looking to have a bounce back week. San Francisco shut him down last week, which was fun to see as a Bears fan. It's fun to see as I was going up against Aaron Jones. So much fun. So much fun. Aaron Rodgers only had 104 yards total on the day. He threw for a touchdown, which looked really good, but that was all he could muster. The Giants just made Trubisky look good. That's saying something. Aaron Rodgers could have a really good day. They're looking to retake the sole position up at the top of the NFC Central because now they are tied, I believe, record-wise with Minnesota. So this is a big game for them. Love it. Kyler Murray, he's still looking to show he's got something in the tank there, and he's making a statement about his year. Talking about San Francisco just 2 seconds ago, Kyler Murray's the only quarterback that figured out how to get past that defense multiple weeks. So he shows he's got something. He's going against the Rams, who have looked lately. They are 15th against the quarterback position. Kyler Murray has quick legs. He's got weapons back. Christian Kirk is healthy again. Chase Edmonds is coming back. He's got a healthy running back. Otherwise, Kenyon Drake, Larry Fitzgerald got involved. So this is going to be interesting. I did a little bit of something here this week for everybody. I went back to last year because Yahoo allows me to look up those stats. And
they're there.
They're there, just to let you know. So I thought it would be kind of fun to look up a few of these stats just to show you where your studs or busts are at right now compared to where they were last year. Sure, they've played a little bit more. They played 16 full games last year in Yahoo to get these numbers, but you can get an understanding.
We can see if they're on pace at least.
Yeah, we can see if they're on pace. So, for example, Aaron Rodgers last year, he had, at the end of the season, 4,442 yards through the air. He had 25 touchdowns. He only threw for 2 interceptions on the season. He was a beast last year. which was why they were drafted and continued to play all throughout the 2019 season. I totally get it. However, this season, Aaron Rodgers only has 2,800 yards passing, almost almost half of what he had last year, and 18 touchdowns. He's still getting it done with the red zone looks there, very nice, and still only 2 interceptions. He's doing okay, not giving the ball away too much. So he's looking okay, just not doing it through the air as much as he did last year. Kyler Murray, he did not play last year in the league, so I'm only going to bring up his 2019 stats. As a rookie, he's got 2,700 yards passing. He's only 100 away from where Aaron Rodgers is this season, looking good. He's got 14 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. This is looking like a great matchup between the quarterbacks here. I am going to give the advantage to Kyler Murray. And I'm going to give it to him because I think the Rams are actually going to put up a fight with the terrible Arizona defense. They're going to do some stuff through the air, and this might actually be a back-and-forth game. Kyler Murray's going to have to show what he's got. He's done a few things on the ground himself, which I think last week he scored a rushing touchdown. He's got it all. He's got potential, and this might be a good matchup for him. So advantage Kyler Murray. Davante Adams coming in next for the wide receivers for Too Many Cooks. He is the 41st wide receiver after taking some time off to rest that foot. He is facing the Giants. They are 31st, almost dead last against the wide receiver. He scored the team's sole touchdown last week, and he still had 12 targets. He's had double-digit targets in the games that he's played since week 4.
Poor
which
guy.
Since week 4, overall he's played 7 games. So not too bad. And he's had double digits in a lot of them since week 4. He even had a 2-point conversion last week. So we'll bring up some of the comparisons here. Last year, he had 169 targets, 111 receptions. He almost had 1,400 through the air and 13 touchdowns. He was insane last year. This year, he has 100 less targets. He's got only 46 receptions, 580 yards through the air, and only 1 touchdown. So that touchdown last week is the only one he scored on the season.
We'll have to get 25 targets a game on the way out.
On the way out. There we go. It's possible. Stephon Diggs is going to be paired with Davante Adams. Diggs is 14th wide receiver on the season. He's facing Seattle. Seattle is smack dab in the middle against wide receivers. Last week was a comeback sensation. They came back in the second half, not last week, but 2 weeks ago before their bye. Diggs was a huge part of it. He had 121 yards and a touchdown, and he caught 5 for 5. Nicely done. Thielen is expected back. It could cause some problems for him. I don't know. They're also, like I said, trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. They're trying to compete for the top spot in Central with the Packers. So we'll see what's up. Last year, Diggs had 149 targets, 102 receptions, 1,021 yards, and 9 touchdowns. This year, he only has 65 targets, 46 receptions, but he still has 880 through the air and 5 touchdowns. So he has just about a third of the targets, but he's only 200 off his total yardage last year. He's doing really well. These are really solid wide receivers. Let's see how they fare up against OBJ, who is the 23rd, and Tyler Lockett, who is the 9th wide receivers on the season. OBJ is playing Pittsburgh again. Last week was the first week he saw pay dirt since week 2, and he had 84 yards to tack onto that. He's still seeing double-digit targets. It's great to see. But Jarvis Landry definitely looks like the number 1 wide receiver out there. As weird as that sounds. Last year, OBJ had 100 oh, this was fun. OBJ had 106 passing yards, and he threw for 2 touchdowns. I think he's passed once since then, and no touchdowns. I'm sorry.
No. How many yards? You got the yards?
For the passing?
Yeah.
106 pass yards. He threw for a full football field last year.
Oh, last year, but this year he's only got 20.
Yeah, this year he only has 20 pass yards. Not the same. I know. What a terrible quarterback he is this year. He also last year had 124 targets. He had 77 receptions, 1,052 yards, and 6 touchdowns. This year, he's only got the 20 pass yards. He's got 97 targets. He's got 54 receptions, just about half of those targets he's caught. 780 reception yards and 2 touchdowns. Ooh, excuse me. Not exactly the same. Not on the same.
I feel like he could get there though. Like out of all the people we've looked at so far, I feel like he's the closest to. That's only 300 more receiving yards and 4 touchdowns.
It's possible, and
20 receptions.
They have a nice schedule coming up, so it's possible. Last time they played Pittsburgh, though, he only had 5 receptions for 57 yards. This could be tough. Pittsburgh's defense has been pretty good. Tyler Lockett, he's playing Minnesota. They play on Monday night. Minnesota is the 28th against the wide receiver. So they've been allowing a lot to the wide receivers this season. Last week was a terrible game. I would know Russell Wilson had a bad game through the air. Maybe it was bad weather. Maybe Lockett was still hurt, and he just didn't have his top wide receiver to throw to. Maybe Russell Wilson sucks now. Who knows? But last week, Tyler Lockett only caught 1 catch for 38 yards. He's the clear number 1, though, so we'll see how this goes. The stats for last year, 70 targets, 57 receptions, almost 970 yards, and 10 touchdowns. This year, he has 78 targets, 8 more than last year. He's got just about eight more receptions than last year as well. And he's almost caught up. He's got 831 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. He's doing really well. Without Doug Baldwin there, he's been doing great.
Yeah.
I think, though, the advantage here is going to be going to too many kicks. I think these wide receivers have a lot more to play for overall, and they're playing defenses that could be easily beaten. So, advantage wide receiver, too many cooks. Then we got the running backs coming up here. Le'Veon Bell is the first running back with too many cooks. He is 12th in the league, playing Cincinnati. Cincinnati is 26th against the running back position. He still had 17 touches last week, 108 yards. He is still a huge piece of this team. No doubt, here. We don't have stats on Lev Bell from last year. Fancy that. So I had to go back to when he was not out in 2017. He had 328 rush attempts, almost 1,300 yards on the ground, and 9 touchdowns. He also had 85 receptions for 655 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. This year, he only has half of those rush attempts that he did in 2017, but he has less than half of the yards gained, 557, 3 touchdowns. He has 51 reception yards, 368 yards through the air, and 1 touchdown. Not as productive as when he was on the Steelers, but he wanted that money. So, Leonard Fournette coming in for the running back 2. Leonard Fournette was sent to the flex position last week for having a couple of bad games, and he showed he wants to be the running back 2 on this team. Love it. He is 5th on the season. He is facing second, and they are doing really well. Last week, like I said, Leonard Fournette had 2 touchdowns, 12 targets. He had 24 carries. He was heavily involved. So let's just do a comparison. 2018, 133 rush attempts, 440 yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns, 26 targets, 22 receptions, 185 yards, and 1 touchdown through the air. This year, he's had about 70 more rush attempts. He's doubled his yardage on the ground. He only has 3 touchdowns. but he's doubled his targets, tripled his targets. He's got 70 targets this year through the air. He's doubled his receptions. He's doubled his yardage through the air, but no touchdowns through the air. He's only had 3 touchdowns. So he is fifth all on yardage catches alone. It's very impressive to see. So go back, talk about Hooper's Hanford right now. Boom. Aaron Jones. He is the 4th running back on the season right now. He's facing the Giants. Giants are 14th against running back. Aaron Jones is completely bottled up against San Francisco. He only had 13 rush attempts and 1 target. They just had a rough game. Game script did not go strangely involved in passing. And that was all she wrote. 2018, Aaron Jones had 133 rush attempts, 730 yards on the ground, and 8 touchdowns. Through the air, he had 35 targets, 26 receptions, 206. This year, man is going 148 rush attempts, 627 yards, and 11 touchdowns on the ground. He's got 46 targets, 35 receptions, 300 yards, and 3 touchdowns in the air. So he's on pace on the ground to match himself. And okay. And how's this?
That's good. You're good now. I didn't know how it would come across.
I hope that shows up in the video too. It definitely popped up on screen. That was good. So Aaron Jones, he's on pace, if not better than he was last year. It's understandable. He's getting really heavily involved. Jonathan Williams, he is 66th right now, running back on the season. Makes sense. He's only played a couple games. He plays Tennessee. Tennessee is 19th against the running back. He's had back-to-back 100-plus yards rushing.
Yeah.
And he saw a double-digit.
Finally in the lineup.
Yeah, he saw 26 carries or something like that this year. Not this year, this past week. And that doubled from what he did 2 weeks ago. Either way, he's got 100-plus yards. He's getting involved. Look at him go. 2018, last year, he was on New Orleans. He had 3 rush attempts for 0 yards, 0 touchdowns. He had 1 target for 1 reception for 1 yard. My God, he was so heavily involved. Needless to say, he has outscored his 2018 stats already by a mile. 41 rush attempts. He's outdoing those 3 rush attempts. He's doing great. 220 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. He's got 4 targets, 4 receptions. Basically, this man is perfect in catching right now throughout his last 2 years, and just about 50 yards receiving. These are great stats. It's going to be tough for Leonard Fournette to do something against Tampa Bay, but he is heavily involved in the passing game, and Tampa Bay, as we know, is not very good against the pass. So I'm actually going to give the running back advantage here to too many cooks. Tight ends, Hunter Henry. He is now 7th tight end on the season. He did spend the first couple of weeks, I think 4 weeks off. He was on IR for a little bit. He was definitely injured. He's playing Denver, who is just about middle of the pack, 18th against tight ends. Since being back week 5, he's only had 1 game under 11 fantasy points. He's averaging 8.2 targets a game. And you know what? Last year, he sat out the entire year because of an injury. He's been very injury prone, but he's doing really great this year.
Yeah.
He's got 54 targets, 39 receptions, almost 500 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns already. So good on you, Henry. Good on you. Greg Olsen coming up for Hooper's Hanford. He is the 8th tight end. He's playing Washington. Washington, as we know, is just not very good. He's been a reliable asset for Kyle Allen. Not really consistent. Not so much consistency. But, he's there. He's gotten the targets as of lately. He's gotten 6, 10, 5, 7 targets the last 4 games. So he's involved. He's a great safety net. I like the matchup here. We'll just go back to when he was a little bit injured last year. He had 38 targets, 27 receptions, almost 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was very, very big on those touchdowns last year. Saved his fantasy production. This year, he's doubled his targets. He's doubled his receptions. He's doubled his yards, but he's halved his touchdowns. So, interesting. Very interesting. I'm giving the advantage to Greg Olsen. He has had a monster game or two this season. And if it's going to happen, I think it's going to happen again against Washington. So, advantage tight end Hoopers. And so we'll go to the flex position here. Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook, the number 2 running back on the season. You're throwing in your flex.
It's a Monday night game, so I applaud that.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that much. I'll give you that. Which well played. It's just holy cow. So number 2 running back on the season, he's facing Seattle. Seattle's 9th against the run. They're doing pretty good against the run, but Dalvin Cook has not seen less than 17 touches in a game. He hasn't had no fantasy production less than double digits. I think he is the reason Minnesota is 8-3. Last year, he was also a little bit injury prone. He had 133 attempts, 615 yards on the ground, and 2 touchdowns. This year, he has 214 attempts, already 1,017 yards on the ground. We're still 4 games away from the end of the fantasy season. And Jesus, and 11 touchdowns. 11 touchdowns. This is just on the ground. Last year, he had 49 targets, 40 receptions, 305 yards, 2 reception touchdowns. This year, he has 54, 45, and 455 yards, but no touchdowns through the air. It's all been on the ground. He is getting involved a lot. Wow. Number 2. He's number 2 for a reason. Tyler Boyd coming up for the other flex. He is the 26th wide receiver on the year. He's facing the Jets. Jets are 25th against the wide receiver. The Red Rocket is back, baby. Just as things were starting to heat up with the other quarterback, he went 5 for 101 and 1 touchdown against Pittsburgh, nonetheless. They're going to switch quarterbacks again. This could be a good thing for Tyler Boyd. We'll see. Last year, actually, I'm going to start reading it like this. He went 76 of 108 for 1,030 yards and 7 touchdowns. This year, he is 63 of 103 for 702 touchdowns. He's on pace to match a lot of these stats, except he just needs a lot more touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he'll get it here. He's got a good matchup, but Dalvin Cook is a beast. He's number 2 on the season for a reason. I'm giving the flex advantage here to too many cooks. I want to make a special note here. I don't necessarily need to comment on this, but it was brought to my attention that too many cooks purchased another defense for double-digit points here, or dollars here, $5. So does this mean that New England is going to be taking a seat very soon? We'll see.
Nice.
Going for very interesting. Let's give a couple of bold predictions here. Devontae Adams, he's going to go for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's going to get right back on track. And then we're going to have Jonathan Williams going for another 134 rushing, 30 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. Overall, this game is going to be in favor of too many cooks by 9 points.
I can't disagree with that. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come out firing, even maybe more than you think. I mean, especially after last week, I think he's got to bounce back. And then I just can't argue against Le'Veon Bell, Leonard Fournette, and Dalvin Cook, regardless of whoever else. So that's why I'll give it to the too many cooks as well.
All right.
All right. We'll take it from here. We got Galladay in versus Silver Sterling. Like let's jump right in. Quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson. He did me wrong last week. But he is the he's the first quarterback overall and the first player now overall. He did take down CMC after last week. He has 876 rushing yards on the season, which is first among quarterbacks, duh. But guess where he ranks among running backs?
Oh, talk to me. He's got to be like top 15.
You think top 15?
For 800?
What if I told you top 10? What if I told you top 5?
Ooh, okay.
What if I told you that there are only 3 running backs in front of him that have more rushing yards this year? And that's CMC, Dalvin Cook, and Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry only has maybe like 100 more rushing yards. 876 is what it is. That's just crazy.
Yeah. Nice stat line there.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Patrick Mahomes for Silver Sterlings. He's quarterback number 8 on the year. He plays Oakland. It's Patrick Mahomes. I love this matchup. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes.
Love it.
I really like this matchup. I don't even know who I'm going to get. I want to say Wash, but I really think Lamar Jackson, just being the number 1 player overall. I know he plays San Francisco, and it's a tough matchup. Patrick Mahomes does play Oakland. They're 27th overall. Somehow I think Lamar Jackson's just going to get it done. So let's look at the wide receivers. D.D. Westbrook, the newly added, he's playing against Tampa Bay. They're 32nd against the wide receiver, so it's a no-brainer. These players don't even need to really play this week. I mean, we've already clinched. I think Golladay already has first place, so I get it. I would have played Kenny Golladay personally. Why not? And then he's got Julian Edelman as well, and he's been targeted 14 times in the red zone since week 5, which is tied for the first since week 5 to be targeted in the red zone. So he's not only getting usage like we know that he is like in the slot early, third downs, but he's actually getting looks in the red zone, which is sort of not his forte typically.
Right.
And he's at Houston. They're 19th against the wide receiver, but he's used regardless. I can't take any of these guys over Silver Sterling's wide receivers and Michael Thomas going up against Atlanta, who is 30th against the wide receiver position. With Drew Brees back, the dude's just an animal. He's a wide receiver 1. He has 104 receptions, which is 20 more than any other player thus far this year. He's been getting like 15, 14, 13 targets a game. So dude's just an animal. Actually, let me look because these players weren't even starting when I did when I started. It seems to be that way now. I have Hill as the wide receiver 2, but he's got the same players that I got in right now, so that's cool. So Tyreek Hill going up against Oakland with Mr. Patrick Mahomes. They're 24th against the wide receiver position, so he's got great matchups for both his wide receivers. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 27 on the year. He has 35 receptions of 20 yards or more since last season, which I believe is tied for 3rd or 4th of that. And I think Patrick Mahomes only has I can look. I think he's only got he has 113 completions of 20 yards or more since the start of last season, and Tyreek Hill has 35 of those. So, I mean, they just have this connection. That's going to be tough to beat. So, advantage Silver Sterling for the wide receiver. Silver's running backs, we got Mr. Joey Mixon in there against the Jets. They're 11th. He's the running back 21. This is going to be another test for him. He kind of got shut down by Pittsburgh last week, but we know that they're a tough defense. So this will be another test for him against the Jets. With Andy Dalton back, I really don't know how that favors for him. But if if they're smart enough and they've seen the production that he's been giving, I think he could have another good game potentially. That Mr. Oh, he doesn't have James White in. The ever reliable. He switched it up. He is going Jamal Williams. He's been kind of shaky, but he's out of the last. So since week 6, he has scored double digits all but 1 week. So he might be an upgrade from the ever reliable 9 points. So I guess I see that move. All right, I agree. Well done.
Yeah.
However, we got Nick Chubb and Alvin Kamara in the other corner. Why are running back number 6 and running back number 13 on the year? Nick Chubb has averaged 110 yards per game over the last 8 games. So the dude has just been an animal, crazy involved. The offense runs through him. Compare that with Alvin Kamara, also at Atlanta. I'm expecting him to have a breakout game. They finally got Drew Brees back in a rhythm. Alvin Kamara has not nearly done what he's done last year or what we know him to be. I think if they give him, the ball more, they're going to be just fine. And so advantage running back Galladay in. And then let's see. So they still have Gerald Everett in. I don't mind this. I think he's due for a big game. If you're just looking at patterns throughout the year. He is the tight end 12, and he gets a great opportunity against Arizona because they're 32nd against the tight end. So I think he's due for a big game. So I like it. I don't think Yahoo's projecting him nearly as much as they should. But I think you got to love the matchup here. And it looks like the Silver Sterlings have plugged in Kyle Rudolph, who's had some pretty good games. Going into their bye week. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row. For those 5 weeks, only had 2 games under 10 points. One was a 9.8, a 3.2. Otherwise, he's getting at minimum 14 points. So, and he gets Seattle on Monday. I don't know why they're only giving him 3.6 unless they. That doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't.
I like the play though. I like it. I think that's your best chance going up against Gerald. So I'm gonna give this one a wash here, just from not knowing. And then he's got. I talked about Tyreek Hill, but he's got DJ Chark going up against Tampa Bay. They're the worst against the wide receiver position. So excellent play going up against Devonta Parker at Philly. Another good matchup. Through the last 3 games for Devonta Parker, he's had at least. I can't tell what I wrote. 9+ targets or so. 9+. I can't read my handwriting. And he's been a good target, especially late in the games. He's getting the garbage time. His points will skyrocket in the fourth quarter all of a sudden. So I think he's a great play up against Philly. But I can't deny DJ Chark. He's the wide receiver 4 in the year. So we'll give him the flex spot advantage. My bold prediction was that Kenny G scores 30+ points this week, 150 yards, 1 to 2 touchdowns. But now D.D. Westbrook is in there, so I'm just going to make up that Alvin Kamara goes off for 150 all-purpose yards with 2 touchdowns. I'll give him the same stats, I guess. Michael Thomas. I think Michael Thomas will have his best score this year. He's already posted 43.7 earlier in the year. I think that he bests that even.
All right.
This one's tough with the change from Galladay to Westbrook and from Williams from James White. I am going to give Silver Sterling the advantage. And that was just made up on the spot because that is not what I wrote. I did give Galladay in, but after reading through it, I'm kind of filling the Silvers. So
that's fair. I'm actually I am going based off of my final full pounder rankings here. I actually have Silver Sterling's winning as well. So
Dang it, John.
I'm just going off of like I said, I'm going off of these. So everything you hear me say is going to be
Trying to win the pick'ems here, man. Now we can only talk. Now we can only talk.
Well, there's a couple more games here, so don't worry. We might have some surprising stats on the horizon here. Yeah, but I agree. There's a couple of big boom potential for those wide receivers of Silver Sterling, and yeah, Nick Chubb has been a huge asset. I'm pretty sure since the trade has happened, they have won. The Galladay Inns have won out.
Yeah,
in fact,
that was big.
I think the last time we did a quarter pounder episode, we projected one
win maybe.
Maybe two teams to go 10, hit double digits. And they were one of them. So, I mean, it could possibly happen, but I think we both have Silver Sterling's winning, so maybe not. We'll go on to the next game. I've got Carrie on my wayward son, who needs a really, really big win this week.
I need a win in the worst way.
And
if I don't win, I have to score a lot of points.
You got to score some points and hope that other people lose.
And I really don't want to go back into the Sacco category for the third year in a row.
It's not a fun place. I can tell you that, my friend. But let's see what I have in store here for you. Let's see if we can get you this win, or maybe it'll go to bow out for Burrow. Let's see how this one goes. Drew Brees coming up for you. He's the 25th quarterback. He has jumped back up to the top 25 after taking a couple of weeks off.
Just a couple.
Just a couple. He's playing Atlanta. They are 27th against the quarterback position. He's back and better than ever. The last 2 weeks, he's thrown for 540 yards and 6 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Ooh, excuse me. But if we go back to the third game ago, 3 weeks ago, that's when he played Atlanta again earlier. He only had 287 through the air, 0, 0, and 6 sacks. That was a really tough game. No idea what Atlanta did to just come out of the gates, their bye week swinging. But they took down Drew Brees. He only got you like 5 points that week. Maybe it could happen again. Who knows? Let me give you some 2018 and 19 stats. Granted, he played all of last year, but last year he was just shy of 4,000 passing yards. He had 32 touchdowns on the season and 5 interceptions. This year he is just over 1,600 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. He's got a lot of ground to make up to make those stats level out there, but we'll see what happens. On the other side of the ball, bow out for Burrow. Bid on Carson Wentz again, even though they had a trade with him earlier in the season. Carson Wentz back on the team. He is the 16th quarterback on the season. He is facing Miami. Miami is second to last against the quarterback position. Carson Wentz has not had a game more than 256 yards through the air since week 6. Everybody's been hurt. Wentz has now hurt his hand. We'll see if he goes and plays, but if he plays, he's got most of his weapons back. I don't think Jordan Howard is playing, but he's got Alshon and he's got Nelson Aguilar back. And he's against Miami. This is a great opportunity for him. We'll see. Last year, Carson Wentz threw for 3,074 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. This year, he's got 2,500 yards through the air, 17 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. He's pretty on pace to match what he did last year. I love Drew Brees in this matchup. I'm going to give him the advantage. I know it's against Miami for Carson Wentz, but I love Drew Brees having a bounce back week against Atlanta. He's going to look for revenge in this.
A revenge game.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a revenge division game too. So
There will be blood.
keep an eye out for that for sure. Wide receivers coming up for you. Amari Cooper, he is wide receiver number 5 on the year. He is going against Buffalo, who is the third against wide receivers. They've been really tough. Last week, he put up a goose egg for you.
Goose egg.
I know it was terrible weather. I know they played New England, and I know he was playing through some injuries. Maybe he could have a bounce back week. Maybe he's still dealing with those injuries. We'll see. Last year, this is the exact point where he got traded to the Cowboys, the exact moment. And then on Thanksgiving, he went completely ballistic. I think he had like 200 yards and a couple of dances in the end zone there. So, I mean, if history's going to rewrite
The story
itself,
is there. The story is there.
if you want history to repeat itself, you want it to be a Thanksgiving Day Amari Cooper kind of history. Last year, he went 76 for 107. He caught 76 of 107 for 1,005 yards and 7 touchdowns. This year, he's caught 56 of 81 for 886 and 7 touchdowns. So he's doing pretty solid. He just needs to fight through those injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Julio Jones also needs to fight through some injuries. He is the 8th wide receiver on the year. These guys have been helping you out get to this point. Now they're starting to feel the aches and pains of being a wide receiver. Yeah. He's going up against New Orleans, as we talked about. New Orleans is 21st against the wide receiver. This sudden shoulder injury is kind of causing problems. Marshawn Lattimore is practicing again and back for the Saints. Could cause some problems for him, especially if he's injured. But he's still getting 9 targets a game and nearing just about 10 fantasy points a week, if not more. So we'll see how this goes. Julio Jones last year, I found this to be fascinating. He caught 113 of 170. He had 30 yards shy of 1,700 air yards. That was incredible.
Yeah.
And 8 touchdowns. This year, he has caught 64 of 100. He has not hit 1,000 yards yet. He's 950 for 4 touchdowns, having those touchdowns this year. So I know throughout the year I've been saying, yeah, Julio Jones has been better this year than I had previously thought in years past. But looking at these numbers, it looks like he had gone crazy last year for you.
Yeah. The yards are just not there yet.
Not yet. We'll see how it goes.
Not yet.
We'll see how that goes. Bow out for Burrow. They've got DJ Moore. DJ Moore is climbing that wide receiver ladder. He is 17th on the year. He's facing Washington. They're middle of the pack against wide receivers. Last game, he went for 126 and 2. He hasn't had a game in the last 4 weeks less than 95 receiving yards. He has been, aside from CMC, he suddenly has become like a huge target for Kyle Allen. And I have him in another league. It's been a surprise, a pleasant surprise, but it's not going to be a pleasant surprise for you this week.
No.
Especially against Washington. This is probably going to hurt you. But last year, 2018, he actually had he had 13 rush attempts for 172 yards. That was very impressive to see. No touchdowns. He also caught 55 of 82 for 788 and 2 touchdowns. This year, he has had a couple of rush attempts again, but it's only been 3, and it's only been for 33 yards. Tree is what he's done on the ground. He has caught this year 68 of 103. He already has almost 150 yards more through the air than last year and 1 touchdown more than last year. He's becoming a solid target, like I said, and I think you need to be worried about that.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen coming up next for their wide receiver slot. He is 16th on the season. He is playing Denver, who is 6th against the wide receiver. They're doing really good. He has stayed pretty consistent. 4 of the last 5 games, he's had double-digit targets. He caught 71 receiving yards last week and a touchdown. I mean, Rivers needs to throw him the ball. That's pretty much what they need there. Bow out for Burrow needs. Last year, Keenan Allen went for 97 of 136. He was. All the shuffling is really loud in my ear. I got to turn this down. Hold on. Let me know if this interrupts the sound again. Type it out for me, will you? He is just shy of 1,200 yards. He had 6 touchdowns last year. This year, he's gone 70 for 107 for 796 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's been a really good wide receiver, all things considered, even though Rivers has been bad. I have to give the advantage to Burrows here. Without the injury concerns, without the tough matchup here against Buffalo, they've got some pretty decent opportunities. I'm giving the wide receiver advantage to the Burrows. Your running backs, we've got Todd Gurley. He is the 16th running back this season. He's been doing pretty good, all things considered. He's facing Arizona. They are 22nd against the running back. 2 weeks ago, he had 28 touchdowns. Last week, he had 9. I mean, it's all game script. They're keeping an eye out on him, and if they didn't need to run him out there when they were down by 40 points, I get it. They played Baltimore. Baltimore destroyed them. They destroyed Goff. They destroyed everything that they ever wanted to be a football game. Todd Gurley last year. Are you ready for these stats?
No, I don't want to hear them. All right.
You want to hear it? Okay. Last year, he went for 256 rush attempts, 1,250 yards, 1,250 yards. My goodness. 17 touchdowns. All of that was on the ground. Last year, he also caught 59 of 81 for 580 and 4 touchdowns. He had a 21 touchdown season last year. This year, he has had half those rush attempts, 135. He has had just about, I want to say, a third of the rush yards. He still has 7 touchdowns on the season on the ground, so we'll give him some credit there. This is where he's gotten his fantasy relevance this season. He's also caught 21 of 34. He's not getting targeted very much. He's only gone through for 114 yards to the air, but he also had a receiving touchdown as well. It's not a bad play. Arizona's a bad team. Like I said earlier in the other matchup, this could be a back and forth game. So you know, keep your eye out for Todd Gurley this week. It could benefit you. Austin Eckler, he's been a nice surprise even since Melvin Gordon has come back. He is still a top 10 running back. He's number 8. He's playing Denver. Denver's 11th against the running back, but I don't think it matters because Eckler can do both running and catching. So he's still a monster asset. Last week, he went for 132 all-purpose against Kansas City. He still had 12 targets. I love him. I have him in another league. He's great. Last year he went 106 attempts on the ground for 554 and 3 touchdowns. He also caught 39 of 53 last year for 404 and 3 touchdowns. This season, he's only had 11 less rush attempts for 200 yards less, but the same amount of touchdowns. However, he's had 20 more targets, just about 30 more receptions, and 260 more receiving yards with 3 more touchdowns than he did last year through the air. He's great. I love him.
Take it.
Fantasy purposes, it was a great later round pick for you. They're both going to have trouble, though, against Josh Jacobs, who is still a top 10 running back, even though last week they got absolutely destroyed by the Jets nonetheless. He only had 11 touches in the game, but this is a bounce back week because he's playing Kansas City. Kansas City is the worst against running backs. He is a great running back, as we've talked about week in and week out. He could be a top 5 if he continues to be a huge asset to the team, if he's getting working, even though they're down, unlike last week. But we'll see. He's a rookie, so this year he's got 201 rush attempts for 957 yards and 7 touchdowns. And he's had caught 18 for 24, 146, and 0 through the air. Pair that with Mark Ingram, who is number 9 on the year for running backs. And this dude is the most consistent thing, or not consistent, but the most efficient running back that fucking is existing right now. Fuck, man. Yeah, he's got a tough matchup against San Francisco. They're 3rd against the run. But holy crap, this dude only had 15 rushes again last week, and he went for 111 yards.
Yeah.
Like, I don't – he does so much with just, like, 13 to 15 rushes that it's insane. He also caught a touchdown last week on his only target, and it makes him a really interesting dual threat. Lamar Jackson, you like him against San Francisco. I like Mark Ingram as his running back. This could get really interesting. It could be different. I think in a strange way, this is going to be like the game of the week for the NFL.
Totally.
Even though both defenses might make this a very, very low-scoring game, it's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah.
One of the weirder low-scoring games that are exciting to watch. So last year, Mark Ingram, he had 138 attempts for 645 yards and 6 touchdowns. Also caught 21 of 27 for 170 and 1 touchdown. This year, he's got 20 more rush attempts for 120 more yards and 3 more touchdowns on the ground. He's 18 of 20 this year. He's only missed 2 passes.
Wow.
He's gone for the exact same amount of yardage through the air, but has 2 more touchdowns than last year. I love your running backs opportunities, but I think Bow Out actually has a strong opportunity here.
I agree.
Strong case. I think I'm going to give them the advantage for the running back position as well. Mark Andrews, your type. He's facing San Francisco. The best against tight end position. He only had 3 targets. He only caught 2 balls, 45 yards. But I think I had mentioned this to you before we started filming. That was about 25% of the total air yards anyway. So the fact that he's 25% of the production through the air, it's a great sign. We've already, this could be a strong game. If Lamar can move the ball enough to confuse San Francisco, this could be great for him. This is a great pickup. I think he's going to treat you well for the rest of the season. Last year, he went 34 of 50 for 552 and 3 touchdowns. This year, right now, he's already exceeded that. He's caught in 50 receptions for 643 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's doubled his touchdowns. He's already surpassed his targets, his receptions, his yards from last year. He's just found his. It's great to see. Jason Witten coming up for the other tight end. He is 16th on the season. He's facing Buffalo. Buffalo is the 2nd best against the tight end position, so your tight ends are going to have a rough time. Jason Witten, he had 4 targets last week, but the last 4 weeks he's averaging about 7 targets, so it's not like he's not involved. He's there for a nice safety net for Dak when he needs him. It's tough to say. It's tough to say where Jason Witten is. A couple of weeks ago, I said Jason Witten is a guy who exists in the NFL. I stand by that statement. I don't know what else he's going to do this season. Last year, he did commentary for 21 games, 0 touchdowns. This year, he's gotten
0 touchdowns.
0 touchdowns last year. This year, he's gotten 42 receptions, 376 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's been pretty average, but the tight end advantage is going to Mark Andrews. Even in the harder matchup, I think he's got the quarterback to do so. And then for the flex position, you have Christian Kirk taking the field. He is the 36th wide receiver. He's going against the Rams, Los Angeles Rams. They are 14th against the wide receiver. Larry Fitzgerald had a better game last week they played before their bye, but that was because he had the touchdown. Christian Kirk still has 9 targets a game, or just about 8.75 targets in the last 4 weeks. He's great. He's doing a lot better than last year. Actually, no, he's not. He's about on pace with last year. I guess, I don't know.
He missed all that time, though.
I was about to say he's missed a lot of time already. Not to mention his final stat line last year was 43 receptions for 590 yards, 3 touchdowns. This year he's already caught 46 for 508 and 3 touchdowns. He's still got a couple more weeks to go. He's probably going to surpass his numbers from last year, even with missing time. It's a great opportunity for him. This could be a back and forth game. I like the opportunity here. But then you got, in the other flex position, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
He is 24th running back on the season. He's missed time. He's had rough matchups. Last week wasn't very good for him, but he still had 17 carries. He's still utilized, even though of these health concerns and health scares. Green Bay, he's going up against. They are 28th against the running back. You can run on Green Bay. He's not what he was last year. Last year, he had 261 rush attempts. He had 1,300 rush yards and 11 touchdowns. He went 91 of 121 through the air for 721 and 4. This year, he's had 118 rush attempts for 460 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's had 9 less touchdowns on the ground, 3 less touchdowns through the air. He's having a rough time. He's had 500 less receiving yards. He's banged up. He's had a rough season. I just like his opportunity better here. He is going to be the main guy running the ball. I'm giving the flex advantage to bow out for Burrow. I am going to boldly predict Mark Andrews catches only 3 passes, but they're going to go for 74 yards and a score against the toughest tight end defense in the league. So I really like that opportunity for him. He's got the quarterback to do so. Keenan Allen, however, is going to surprise me even more. Going against Denver, he's going to go for 110. But no score. No score. My final prediction here for this game. Yeah. I got you, computer. I got you. Is who's going to win? It's going to be bow out for Burrow. They're going to make your last week in the regular season extremely stressful. But there's still an opportunity for you to win if your boys can put up some good, big numbers here.
We gotta. We're a team.
We
can do this.
Yeah.
I will give myself the win, and that'll be where we differ.
That's where we're different. I understand completely. You got to put some confidence in your team. I understand.
All right, so next matchup, Prescott Sterling versus Circuit of Browns. This is another, like all other matchups this week, are very interesting and have a lot going in to playoff contention, seeding contention, and everything. And this is one of those games for sure. Josh, I hope you're still there. You're there. So for Prescott Sterling, they got Dak Prescott going up against Buffalo. They're third against the quarterback, so he's going to have some work. He's the quarterback number 2 overall and the number 3 overall player. This
he's
year.
having a great year.
He has, let's see, 200. Let me see what this. Oh, this is what Yahoo's giving him. They're giving him 242 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 13 rush yards, and 1 interception. In this matchup, I think that's pretty accurate. I could see him getting some more yards, even some more rushes, just depending on game flow. It's going to be a tough matchup against Buffalo, but with them at home, I think that'll play out even more to their favor. More to their favor. Then the Browns, they're throwing at Winston at Jacksonville. They're the 20th against the quarterback, so it's a pretty good matchup for him. He's the quarterback number 6. I think Yahoo gave him three touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I'm giving him 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Last week they were talking about how he has potential to be not only the touchdown leader but also the interception leader in the same year. I think he has 23 touchdowns or 22 touchdowns and 20 interceptions, which is crazy. So he's shooting even par right now is what he's doing. But he's got 2 awesome weapons. If he can keep it under control against Jacksonville, he could really blow off. So I will give the Browns the advantage here over Dak. Wide receivers for Prescott's, they got Michael Gallup and T.Y. Hilton. Michael Gallup has been a very reliable wide receiver to Amari Cooper for Dak. He's a wide receiver 21. And they're going up against Buffalo. Like I said, they're 4th against the wide receiver position, so it will be tough. But I think he's got a great opportunity. It's Thanksgiving. Like I said, they're at home. I think Dallas has a really good chance. I think they're definitely going to beat Buffalo, but it's how much damage are they going to do? So that's really what it comes down to. Yeah. Then T.Y. Hilton at home against Tennessee. Tennessee's 19th against the wide receiver, and he's 48 overall. Yahoo's predicting him 8 receptions and 91 yards.
A slow day for him.
and 1 touchdown. Pretty accurate. He's been pretty reliable all year. He's had a couple of off games and has missed some time, but when he's in, he's a part of that offense, and I think he's got a great opportunity against Tennessee. It's just so hard to match up against Mike Evans, who's the wide receiver 3, and Cooper Kupp, who's the wide receiver 7. And against their matchups, Mike Evans at Jacksonville and Cooper Kupp at Arizona. Mike Evans has at least 1,000 receiving yards for 6 straight years. So that puts him in an elite category of wide receiver. I think he's going to have a great game, and I'll get wide in my bold predictions. And then Cooper Kupp, still the wide receiver 7. He's got Jared Goff throwing the ball, but he likes to throw to him. He's been a disappointment the last couple of games, maybe even 2 or 3 games. But they get Arizona, they're 23rd against the wide receiver, so I think he's got a really, really, really good chance, as all Rams offensive players do this week, against Arizona. So I'll give them the advantage. Okay. And then we get to the running backs. Ezekiel Elliott at home against Buffalo. A lot of Cowboys in this matchup, Scott. They're 18th against the run, so that's where they could do a lot of their damage, I think, as a team. And he's the running back 7 on the year. And so let's see what stat I wrote here. The Bills have allowed on average 3.1 yards after contact to the running back, which is the 2nd highest this year. And I think that really works into Zeke's favor because he's a contact guy. He likes the contact. So I think he's going to be the stud this week for sure. Pair that with Derrick Henry, who's the running back 3. Dare I say 3 on the year? I wrote down he's just the chosen one. He has 3.6 yards after contact is what he's averaging this year. So, I mean, even when he gets touched, he's still pushing through. He's plowing. He's the wide receiver or the running back 3 for a reason. So I'm actually going to give them the matchup, even though the Browns are throwing out CMC against Washington, who's 24th, and Tevin Coleman. I really like Elliott's and Henry's chances here. CMC, as we know, is running back 1 on the year. He has 27.2 touches per game since week 9. And the league average is only 8.2 touches, but he's averaging 27 touches a game, which is insane.
Ridiculous.
And then Tevin Coleman, the running back, 19 on the year. He's had tough matchups. Let's see here. And the Ravens I can't talk. The Ravens averaged 14.8 points to the running back since last season, which is second best, where the average for the league is 18.4. So Baltimore is a tough running team. So got to give the advantage to the Sterlings here. Tight end, Darren Waller. He's the tight end number 3 on the year at Kansas City in a juicy matchup. They're 27th to the tight end. He's had 59 receptions this season, which is tied for 3rd. And the Chiefs have allowed the most receptions to tight ends this season. So another great matchup. Zach Ertz, though, at Miami. Miami's done all right against the tight end. They're 18th. But he's the tight end 5, so this is really going to be a fun tight end matchup to watch. He's at 8.7 targets since week 5, which is the best in the NFL for the tight end position. So he's got a great opportunity as well. This one I'm gonna call it a wash, but I think I lean more on the Darren Waller side if I had to really pick. Flex position, Adam Thielen at Seattle. They're 17th against the wide receiver. He's the wide receiver 39. He's had this is a weird stat Yahoo gave. He has 7 touchdowns over his last 8 games.
Okay.
All right, and then they said like the league, or which is like the best among wide receivers. But I was like, there's like 3 wide receivers with 8 or 9 touchdowns this year. I don't know how that's the best, but I was like, oh, maybe they're counting Adam Thielen's 8 games that I don't know. So
yeah, I think they're just talking about the 8 games he's played.
I was like, that's so stupid to analyze. But the Vikings have been doing really well, and Adam Thielen, when he's in, is a part of that offense. Stephon Diggs is really good as well, but Adam Thielen is like the guy. So if he's healthy and plays, I think he's got a great chance to put up some numbers that'll really help out. But then we got Golden Tate starting for the Browns. I really like Golden Tate so far this year. Wide receiver 47. He's been averaging 1 touchdown every 4.3 receptions.
Huh. No kidding.
Which is crazy. I mean, he's only played, like 6 games and maybe.
Yeah, he's only played since week 5.
But so I think he has 13 receptions and 3 touchdowns since week 9, which is 3rd best. But I feel like he's averaging. Maybe he's not the best in touchdown per reception ratio, but he's definitely up there, especially since coming back for Danny Dimes. He's been phenomenal. Truthfully, I don't know who to give this to. If Thielen is healthy, I'll give it to him. But it's tough. It could be a wash. Last time these guys played each other in week 4, it was the Browns that won 93-89, so only by about 4 points. I'll give my bold predictions. Elliott, I think, will feast and will still be hungry. I think he's going to top 200 total yards and have however many touchdowns he gets. Maybe 1. I think it could be 2. It could be 3. We've seen that from a few players this year. Why not? And then I got Mike Evans here. I got him finishing as the wide receiver 2 overall going into the fantasy playoffs. I think he's going to outscore Godwin by 18 points. That's what he has to do. So that's my bold prediction. Is he has to outscore Godwin by 18 points.
And that's nice.
This one is really tough. I had the Browns winning here in my original. But again, after reading through, I'm going to have to change my mind and go with Prescott Sterling. I will give them the advantage here.
Okay. I respect that. Prescott Sterling has been on fire as of late.
True. That's another factor.
I think 3 weeks ago, they were in 9th place, and since then they've scored a ridiculous amount, like 500 points.
Yeah. They've put over like 120 each week and have been on fire. Their team is
Yeah.
good.
I think it was week 10. No, it was week 11. So it was like 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we had the game of the week with Chet and Eric again, and they were the two top scorers in the league, facing off against each other. Ranicky has snuck in there. He is now the second highest scorer in our league. He's just been really good. So I respect your pick here. I'm gonna go opposite though. I'm gonna
Good.
say,
I was hoping you would.
I was going to say, yeah, but the Browns are going to take this victory. They're going to stop the playoff push. But we'll get to our full pounder stuff in just a little bit. It could, I'm actually going to say, spoiler, it will be okay for Prescott Sterling's, even though they lose, given their high score here, their second highest score. So we'll differ on that matchup. We have two different matchups that we have differed upon. Your game and their game makes perfect sense. That just leaves one game left, my friends. Game of the week. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
Oh my God!
Oh, look at this! Look at this! It feels so good to be part of a game of the week. You know what I was saying here. It looks like this week I am part of it. Danny is part of it. Our commish. We have ourselves a very interesting game with a ton of fantasy implications. I'm so excited to see how this turns out. Commish, come in, sir. Are you here?
Oh, Johnny boy.
Oh.
Going on?
Oh, not much. How you doing?
I know this and that.
Boys, thanks for having me on again, back-to-back weeks, and happy early Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
happy early Thanksgiving. We are but 52 minutes away.
Oh my God. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving as well. Yeah, back-to-back game of the weeks. This is the first time this has happened in the 2019 season. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Yeah.
And it looks like the last time we had you on last week, you went completely bonkers and put yourself in a good spot, man.
Well, my team has gone the entire year. I'm due for a nice safety spot this week, so I'm not feeling too great. But we'll see how it goes. I got some brewing.
It's a scary one, Danny. I'm part of it.
Yeah.
You're part of it.
A lot of must wins for a lot of people.
Ranicki's part of it. Lyjak's part of it. Matt's part of it.
Yeah.
Eric is part of it. We are. Josh is somehow part of it.
It is.
I think I was talking to you guys earlier, and I think I need in all of my other matches except for mine. Everybody else needs to win, and then you guys have to outscore me by 60 points each, and I will drop. And to the, I mean,
yeah, I think you're looking all right.
Well, I'm just saying, some crazy shit has happened in this league. I'm not ruling it out, and I'm still a little nervous. But the fact that on the other side of the coin, I could drop out. On the other side of the coin, I can get a bye week with a win this week, and lose it. Like just. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And to think that Matt still has a chance to get in, depending on all of this stuff here. This is crazy.
Yeah. Everyone's so close in points.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone could do it, so crazy.
It's crazy. I noticed a little move you made today.
Yeah. I'm on the fence. I don't know what I'm going to do, but...
Is it the Tyreek Cohen, Sam Darnold? It's a Sam Darnold.
I don't know if I can play Deshaun against the Patriots with the season on the line. I don't know if I can do it.
Oh, man.
And Darnold's got that juicy matchup this week.
I mean, if you do plug him in, I hope that everything just goes to Jamison Crowder, and we'll be fine.
My
Oh,
biggest
man.
fear is making that move and then losing because of it. And my season goes down the toilet.
Oh my
I don't know
god.
what I'm gonna do.
It's an interesting day when you have to rely on Sam Darnold over Deshaun Watson.
You guys have Thursday night players and Monday night players.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Josh,
Yeah.
you don't have a kicker
Well, Josh,
yet.
yeah, Josh has Russell playing on Monday. That makes me nervous.
I don't know. Last time we played on a Monday night, I think it was against San Francisco, and that was not a very good game.
No.
So
No.
we'll
Well,
see.
it's a good game, but
Well, that's true. That's true. I mean, fantasy-wise, not so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, I like this. I really like this game. And I think we even called it like 3 weeks ago.
yeah,
too.
coming down the wire.
Yep.
We'll
This
see.
is
It's
crazy.
a good matchup. Like I said, I'm not feeling too confident with the week I had last week. I know I'm due for an thing.
Yeah, I feel like I've had my my time down. Last week was the lowest score I've had since week 1. So we'll see how this goes. I feel like I'm expecting a boom, hopefully, you know.
Yeah.
In the words of Coach Eric out there, you know, my boys have been practicing all week. They've been eating their Wheaties. That they're ready for Thanksgiving turkey, and it's going to give them a nice little energy boost for Sunday and Monday night. Ooh, we're ready. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's going to be good.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm interested.
Between looking at my entire lineup this week, I've got Deshaun and DeAndre going against the Patriots. I got Chris Carson going against the Vikings. Kittle going against the Ravens. I mean, it's tough. It's aligning poorly for me in a must-win game, but
I mean, sometimes you gotta play your studs. I don't even know if I have running back studs anymore, so I don't know who to play. So maybe you have an advantage there.
Yeah.
Well, Melvin, I think he'll have a good game, but Chris Carson, I'm losing faith in. Plus, he's got the tough matchup, so we'll see what we get from him.
Yeah, we'll see. It should be definitely going to be a good one overall. I think our game definitely has the most fantasy implications for everybody else, so this is going to be good. We'll be in cahoots throughout the entire weekend.
Everyone will be.
Oh, yeah.
The only people that don't have to worry are Dale and Robbie. They are the only people. They know their fate. They know where they lie
They
for
know
next week.
what's up. So this will be good. I will be watching very closely to see which quarterback I'm going up against, but either way, I wouldn't blame you.
It's a big game. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but got
That's
plenty
fair.
about it still.
That's fair. All right. Well, sir, thanks for joining us. I know it was a little late today, but happy Thanksgiving again.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see you on the gridiron starting at 11:30 tomorrow morning.
Best of luck, gentlemen.
Later, boys.
Good luck, man. Peace. All right, Louis. With that being said, hey, I'll go first. I'll go first just in case you want to differ on the third game here. I don't know why you would. Especially if he throws in Sam Darnold, because I absolutely believe this is the case. If I was him, I would probably shift. I mean, you saw how much on the fence I was with Russell Wilson playing San Francisco. I completely understand if he tilts against New England. I'm going to say Danny wins this one probably by 7 points.
I wanted to give him the win as well. It doesn't benefit me at all.
I mean, hey, listen, if we're still doing the pick'ems through the playoffs, you got 3 other weeks to make up that ground. If you want to stay stable, you could definitely go here and pick with me. But if you want to try to go for that jump and the potential tie after the pick'ems of this week, I totally get you too. plus a win for me is a little bit of an ego boost or a confidence booster.
I will I will go with you.
Ah! I have a vote.
You made a believer.
I have a believer.
Now, the people I picked do not reflect how I feel that this that this end of season will go. Although maybe there's still similar fates, but yeah, I picked against both my matchups. I picked the other team that I did not originally plan on picking.
So you're just gonna stick with the original.
I'll stick with what I got here. Yeah, I don't want to have to do math.
That's fair. Well, then, in that case, gentlemen, we'll go ahead and give you. You waited till the very end of the episode here. We appreciate it if you made it this far. We've got our very last quarter pounder, or as we're calling it this week, the full pounder episode.
A full pounder.
We are putting all of the. Oh man, it just sounds weird no matter way I'm going to say it here. We're putting all of the stats on the line. We're grilling them all up, and we're going to just have a finished product. It's going to be I'm trying to make this into a food.
A burger?
Yeah. I didn't want to say, like, we're putting all the meat out there, because that's just, okay.
Putting all our meat.
All the meat. We have the meats. So, do you want to take it away? Who you got? I know it's just one game prediction, but this is where we're all going to decide where we end up going into the playoffs. Do you want to start?
Yeah, so this is I'll just run through my final standings.
Mm-hmm.
So currently at 9-3, the only team with 9 wins, the only team with 8 wins, the only team that has potential to go double digits is Galladay Inn. They have clinched. They have the 1 seed going into the playoffs, so that's a no-brainer to leave alone, regardless of win or loss. Circuit de Browns, I have coming in at the number 2 spot. I have them winning in this one. So they will be the only 8-5 team that I have, and in second place. And another team I had winning here is Too Many Cooks, finishing 7-6. Due to points, they will jump to the number 3 spot.
Yes.
Josh, I had you losing here, also finishing 7-6, dropping to the 4 spot.
Okay.
And then due to points that need to be scored, I have Danny winning here and finishing in the 5 spot. I have myself winning here, finishing in the 6th spot. I have Prescott Sterling losing and coming in the 7th spot. Silver Sterling losing, coming in the 8th spot. Hooper's Hampered 5-8 coming in the 8th spot, and then Hooper's Hampered 5-8 coming in the 9th spot. And then Bow Out for Burrows. If I'm beating them, they're losing. They'll be 3-10 and coming in that 10th spot.
Excellent.
So that's what I have. It's crazy.
We have a very similar setup here, but that's only because we're only predicting one game here. So I figured we'd have a lot similar, and we are actually the exact same all the way through the top 5. Galladay Inn, I have them losing this week. My predictions throughout the episode today have directly affected and correlate with the full pounder standings here. So I said Galladay Inn would lose. They're gonna end the regular season at 9-4. Cirque de Brown, they're gonna win. Regular season score record here is 8-5. Too Many Cooks, they are going to win. They're going to pass me in points. They are going to be 3rd with 7-6. I do have myself losing, but just like you, staying in 4th place. Due to the points here, I think I'm going to maintain the point lead over Danny,
Mm-hmm.
who will win and end up in 5th place at 7-6. Now, the next 3 teams I have are 6 and 7. They will end the season at 6 and 7, and they will all be fighting for that last spot, but one of them has a commanding lead in points as of right now. As of right now, they have they have a 150-point lead over 7th place in my standings. They have a 160-point lead over 8th place in my standings, and that is Prescott Sterling. I think they will lose, but they have the points to just not care.
Yeah, I agree.
Which means everybody else is going to the Sacco number 7, because he already has a 10-point lead over you. Silver Sterlings are going to come up in 7th place here. They will join you, who will be number 8, 6 and 7. Number 9, we got Hooper's Hampered. And can I just say here, if this actually happens, I've saved all of our Quarter Pounder episode pieces of paper. And it was on the Half Pounder episode. Which week was that? Week 7? Week 6? I can't remember. Hold on here. No, I have the score. It was week 6. Week 6. You were 4 and 2, and 2nd place. And I had, and your team name was Gordo at that point. Matt, I have you in that week only winning one more game and ending the season with 5 wins. I have you right now in the Full Pounder episode, a whole Half Pounder later, finishing with 5 wins and 8 losses. For Burrow, I have beating you this week, Louis. They will finish with 4 and 9, but it's okay because they're just going to stay right there in 10th place.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Full Pounder standings, Full Pounder records. Week 13. We're getting crazy.
Lucky 13.
Lucky 13. Wow. Man, this is nuts. I wish everybody the best.
Yep.
I hope
Agreed.
you don't have too many Thursday night or Thursday games going here tomorrow on Thanksgiving to stress you out for the rest of the weekend. But if you do, I hope they do well. Best of luck.
Best of luck, everyone. Gosh, week 13, we made it. Regular season.
We're here. Very soon. Next, after Monday night, we're going to see who's going to be competing for some money and who's going to be competing to wear a suit.
To not be humiliated.
To not be humiliated. Oh, here we go. Well, guys, I think that kind of wraps it up here. Week 13, we're going to be in the books very soon. Happy Thanksgiving again to everybody. Enjoy that food. Enjoy that turkey.
Enjoy the family. Enjoy the friends. Enjoy the fellowship.
And
enjoy some football.
Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes,
Go Sports, everybody.
hot dog, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, turkey, beans, greens, potatoes.